one, Tun Dr. Mahathir claims that a one-day parliament sitting is not good for politics. Why is this the case? I mean, is it right for the government to push the next parliament sitting to July 13 instead? Because initially it was May 18 and they said, yes, we'll still convene May 18, but it's only for one day.
Yes, and in fact, it was originally going to be March 9th. Now, obviously, where Malaysia is different from most other countries is we had some political turmoil and there was a change of government in the final weeks of February and the early weeks of March. And we had the fall of one administration and the installation of another. So obviously, the sitting of Parliament is going to be an interesting time when eventually it does convene. But we're actually looking at a situation where there is effectively a government is administering by decree. We have sort of emergency rules and so I think while it would be a better move in terms of our legislation and all that to get things back as soon as possible. I mean, the UK has actually got these virtual parliament meetings. I think that's a very good idea. Yeah. At the same time, you'd have to you have to ask the question if the current administration is delaying the reconvening Parliament because it wants to put certain things in place to its own benefit.
All right. But do you think like a virtual Parliament sitting via video conferencing is viable in this political climate that we have here in Malaysia?
I think it certainly is. Obviously, it's a bit hard to imagine such a large 222 MPs. And I can just imagine the speaker having a major headache coordinating who's going to talk. But I think there are certain issues, for example, the economic stimulus package is not a small amount of money. And it is something that should be discussed, whether or not our resources are being used in the most beneficial way. So I think that's something that it should be a bipartisan discussion. Yeah.
Not just the one-person rule, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or one cabinet deciding.
One cabinet deciding. Okay.
So you think it should happen? It should be more than just one day, and it hopefully can be done online, or
yes, I think we should try we should try the virtual parliament thing, maybe even as early as May. But that's what I do feel. It could be a trial and everything. If it really isn't workable, then we can push it back.
How do you think this seating order will affect the dynamics of the Bersatu Party? As we know, they're no longer one party.
Yes, we've seen this where Bersatu is part of for example, in Kedah, they are part of the Pakatan Harapan administration, which is led by Menteri Besar Mukhris Mahathir. But in the rest of the country, they are basically teamed up with UMNO, PAS, and the old Barisan Nasional.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, that party has been split. There's no precedent for it in Malaysia, but this has happened in Argentina, for example, where the Peronist party has split into both. The left-wing faction has been in government, while the right-wing faction has been in opposition. This happened during the presidencies of Nestor and Cristina Fernandez Kirchner.
It's quite interesting, but how do they work together still in one party if there's a left wing and a right wing?
Well, that is quite unique to Argentina, because the Peronist legacy, somehow or other, he managed to get both wings behind him. And there have been times, like in the 1970s, they were actually in the same party but fighting street battles against each other. And so that's maybe a unique case, yes, because somehow or other he had the support of the unions on the left and the armed forces on the right. And each of the groups were trying to lay claim to his legacy and yet at the same time competing against each other. I don't expect that it'll be such a long drawn out legacy for Bersatu. I think it's only going to be a short term, this is only a short term solution, and I expect that in coming years, we shall see the party fully in one direction or another.
Okay, this is our final article all about deferring Hari Raya holidays. So our government is mulling the idea of deferring Hari Raya holidays, and Indonesia, they've already postponed Hari Raya celebrations to the end of December. Malaysia may now consider it as well. In your personal opinion, should we do what Indonesia is doing and just postpone the celebration till end of the year? Or is it even possible?
Well, it's obviously a very important religious holiday, and I am sure it will be observed by many in their own way. But we can't predict whether or not the MCO. Well, we can surmise that the MCO may still be in effect during that time. So if it is, considering that we've already sporting events, school, they've all, like my son's SPM exams, for example, been pushed into next year. So it's truly a unique situation. It's going to be a one-off or once in a lifetime, hopefully. But yes, I think we have to look at all possibilities, including maybe celebrating Raya at home on that day, but actually having the Raya holidays and public celebrations a little further down the road when the situation is better.
But who should make this decision? It will have to depend on the religious what do you call it? The religious authorities, right?
Yes, I think the government will be consulting. It depends. Basically, I think a lot of decisions now are on the advice of the health officials. And also, the police will also have their input in terms of how the population is being controlled. So, our top officials in the new administration, so basically, have to consult the police, the religious authorities, health authorities, and decide whether or not this is something worth pursuing.